Hi, I've had some pretty positive feedback regarding the video I did on business in the Philippines. Um, I just wanted to go over a few other things, which is primarily why would I know about doing business in the Philippines? Because I know that's normally the first thing that people throw back is like, what makes you an expert? What is this? Blah blah blah. The fact is, when I originally went to the Philippines, we had a piggery. We did the livestock thing. I did summaries and spreadsheets on the costs and the business and how the business model worked. And what I found was the first thing is getting consistency in the pigs themselves um, could be troublesome because the breeds that were being, you know, buying pigs for fattening, for example, you don't know what you're buying. There's a lot of poor quality animals in the Philippines. The first batch gained weight pretty well, but they didn't get over a certain size. Those were sold on for profit, not as big as profit as like, but they were still profitable. The second batch, same quantity of pigs, but the food consumption went up and they gained weight much slower. But also the food costs went up by 30% within a 1 month period. Still profitable, but the profit margins on these sort of things is extremely minimal. For me, I wouldn't risk buying like 100 head uh, pig farm, for example, because there's no consistency. Um, where I would, if I was going down that route, is it would be a case of taking it from um, breeding my own animals right up to selling sausage and specialty cuts, and basically from birth to slaughter. The reason being is the people making the profit on that are the guys doing the animal feeds, the vets, and the butcher. Then you've got obviously the supermarkets. You're making virtually nothing in comparison to what they are, and you're doing all the work. The Philippines is generally like that right across the board. For example, if you look up coconuts and the coconut production in the Philippines, it's in major decline, and there's very little government investment. Now, I know people with coconut farms. Now, if you're abroad now, coconuts aren't cheap. Yet, you got the wholesalers, who buy it up for export, only offering around 4 pesos per coconut. Yet they're selling them for 40 plus. Um, there's no profit in it, and this is why the whole industry has gone into decline, even though it's a very viable business, because there's elitism exists in the Philippines where if you can control an entire market, they generally do, and they're not interested in helping you develop your business. And I'm not taking this out to complain about the Philippines. I'm talking about economics. Same with the airlines. Prime example. I've got a flight up to Manila. It's only a short flight, yet it was an hour late, and then it was 3 hours late leaving the Philippines to go to the UK. That is typical because there is no competition. So you got to understand the same people that own the airways, the air companies, they also own other things. You'll find like San Miguel breweries, for example, they own the animal feeds, and they're cartels. The business isn't designed to help you; it's to help themselves. Now, that is the animal feeds. I also did the internet cafe. I set that up. It made money, not as much to make worth my time, but it still made a profit every month. Um, Rentals I did and still do. I have property rentals. That is a good business. It's not highly profitable because we do it small scale, but at the same time, you're not there 24/7, which is where you make money. The best businesses in the world are those that you make money on when you're not there. Rentals is one of those. Now, how you set that up is up to you. We own our own properties, but you have to be aware that Filipinos generally don't like you muscling in on their business. So I know a few expats that have had problems with licensing and things because basically real estate agents don't want you doing it. So you got to be very careful on how you operate if you're looking at those types of businesses. What else have we done? Vehicle rentals we've done, and we know people that do it. Jeepney routes can work. You need to understand the business very well. There's several expats that own fleets of jeepneys. There's a British expat that actually says the gold number is 7. Once you have 7 jeepneys, it becomes extremely viable because the fleet will support the repairs on any vehicle that's off the road, so that you're constantly got income to keep the business afloat and develop it. Less than that, he's saying it's a bit hit and miss. Like you've got to take some risks. Now, a lot of those businesses fail locally because people don't invest in maintenance. They'll run a vehicle till it dies. The obvious problems with that is if you have no oil change, it develops another fault, which develops another, and eventually ends up seizing your engines. So a small 3-month maintenance or monthly maintenance would actually be worth doing, because when it does completely knacker, you haven't got the budget to replace the engine. Also, they don't save. That's one of the problems with a lot of the guys that do things locally. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because this is where expats can succeed with many of these things. Because thinking ahead, you're taking it to a different level. Taxi fleets. I know an expat that's had 5 taxis. He said it was an utter nightmare because people were stealing the parts, bad drivers, people not turning up to work, people that were disappearing, all sorts of little problems, which basically made the business a living nightmare. At the same time, I live in the same town where a Japanese guy has one of the biggest fleets in Cebu. So that, I would say, is a business you really need to understand. It's not hit and miss. It's actually understanding how to manage fleets properly. Same with jeepneys. Starting up with one jeepney and you're managing it yourself, then you begin to understand it. There's a guy I know where what he does is he marks everything with nail varnish, so he knows if anything's been altered or touched inside the vehicles, because drivers steal parts. They'll swap something of yours out for somebody else's, so that they get a new one, you get a broken one. A car battery, whatever it is. They will do it. Now, it's not that I don't trust people. The fact is, these are things that are happening and are what I've heard from other people. Call center industry. The call centers are a booming business in the Philippines, but I would also say it's full of parasites. What I mean is you're getting a lot of Indian and Pakistanis lying about their business. They're selling it up to 5 tier down, where everyone's getting a cut above you, leaving very little profit margin to make it worth your while. If you're going to go down the route of call centers, get your own clients. Get rid of all the crap. Deal with people directly in home countries. Do not deal with brokers. Get rid of them. They're crap for the industry. They're crap for you. They're crap for the clients. And the fact is, the business is there. It's not hard to find people that are looking for marketing strategies. So you just need to invest time in making that work. You need to understand the software though, because most of the IT guys I know more about the dialer systems than they do. They seem to replicate things. So basically, if you've got one server that works, they will copy it. They don't understand how it works. So when it goes faulty, they'll be down for a day and trying to get hold of somebody that knows how to fix that problem. Not all IT guys are like that, but I would say predominantly there's too many people in the system like that do not know what they're doing. Call center agents, you need to go through hundreds of them to get a good set of agents. Time consuming, but it can be worthwhile. There's huge profits to be made in call center. At the same time, you need to know what you're doing. I've seen more call centers fail while we were operating hours than actually succeed. That's another prime example of being hands-on with a business, because most of the problems that they were having is the owners don't know the industry. They relied on other people to run it for them, and the first thing other people did was steal as much as possible. So do not trust anybody outside your own circle with that, because you're actually entrusting people your entire business, and they will destroy you. They don't care about you. They don't care about losing their job most of the time. My employees did, but I've dealt with some idiots myself who didn't do their job, cost me a lot of money, but at the same time, you can recover from it if you're aware of it and cut it out. But I've seen other call centers just leave the business to be run by somebody else who's been skimming off the top, skimming off in the middle, and then in between acting as broker as well to steal as much as possible. It's not worth it. It's better off to say no than actually work with these guys. So I've done the call centers. So these are different types of business, as you can hear. They're completely different types, and we've done all of them. I've also done blogging for money. I've done website development. I've done SEO work. I've done a lot of stuff online that made money, and they still make money now. The only thing is, I have more viability in myself as an engineer and surveyor than dedicate my time to that. So I would say they're good things to make a living off, but I'm worth a hell of a lot more as an engineer and surveyor, which is why I've gone back to a lot of the stuff I do. I'm currently developing my skill set at the moment to take it to the next level. So business in the Philippines is not so cut and dry. If you're not into business, don't do it. You're going to lose money. You might end up completely broke and suicidal, because some people do commit suicide in the Philippines. Never hits the media properly. It's some love triangle murder or something, but a lot of it is just suicides where people have been left with nothing. And these are key elements you have to be aware of. The next one being is having a bad partner. I've got a friend whose wife sold his restaurant 3 times before disappearing, leaving him with all the debt and problems with the court service. That is something that is not uncommon. Now, I'm not saying all women in the Philippines are like that, because in fact, a lot of the problems is where guys meet these women. I mean, I can see it a mile off on a lot of people, and a lot of times they can. But you have to protect yourself from these sort of things happening. But at the same time, if you don't have trust in a relationship, you haven't got trust in the business. So another reason for not doing business, if you're not 100% backed by yourself and confident with your partner. Now, on top of that, there's other businesses that people have tried. I would say fisheries, people have done, and I know people have been sold their entire farms rather than dealing with locals. The same went for general agriculture. And you're probably going to think, well, why have how can I complain about that? Well, the fact is they were Filipinos. They've actually realized that it was easier to sell up and go abroad than trying to deal with locals with bad mentality, crab mentality. The gamekeeper for the fisheries, for example, every night he used to go out with a boat, throw food over the boat onto the water, then skim all the fish out. When they eventually emptied the reservoir, there was no fish left. The organic farming, the problem was as soon as he left the farm, they went back to their old methods. So you're actually making it more productive by introducing new methods, um, things like mixed mixed farming, where like in rice paddies you can have ducks, fish, and things like that. But as soon as you leave, they're destroying the place. Now that guy is actually involved in agriculture in the country. He's not. I mean, if an agricultural doctor can't get it right, who can? Um, so these are very core things that I know go wrong. Now I'm not saying it fails for everybody, but I'm saying it's much easier for me to tell you this stuff from an honest perspective because I just say it as it is. You can go on YouTube and you can find somebody to tell you how wonderful goat rearing is in the Philippines. They will not tell you about the problems with diseases. They will not tell you about the problems of trying to sell the products. They will not tell you about the problems with getting a good mix of animal breeds. They will just tell you it's fantastic. Same with fighting cocks. Fighting cocks is big business in the Philippines, but you need to understand it. Um, Another island from us, the NPA, which are like a communist militia in the country, they went to a guy's farm and basically told him they wanted 10 chickens to eat. He didn't do it, so he come up the following day and his entire stock of chickens had all their heads cut off. I bet you didn't see that in a YouTube video somewhere. Now, not all these things happen all the time, and they're not things that are gonna be consistent with what happens to everybody. But these are things you should be aware of can happen, because the media is not great. Um, I find it a little bit frustrating in the Philippines because I'd rather have real in-depth knowledge because you can work with something that's real rather than game show media. But a lot of this stuff is not published for obvious reasons. In the same way, like I'm saying, if you look on YouTube, you're going to find everybody telling you how great it is. But I'll tell you from my own insights, because I'm quite open with things, people tell me the truth. Expats often lie, locals often lie. It's all about saving face. Doesn't matter where you're from on the planet. You don't want to make yourself look stupid and say your business is a failure because of XYZ. Now, I know I had problems in my own call center because the problems I faced were external. I was relying on third parties which were untrustworthy, unreliable, and stealing. I've removed that. It's like hit the business quite hard. At the same time, it's the only way I could guarantee never going bankrupt because these guys, last year I made a lot of profit, but the amount of money that disappeared with bad people is probably around $15,000 to $20,000. But we're still here. We're productive and we're moving forward. Then we got hit with the earthquakes, the typhoon, and in the middle we had this business problem with the people stealing money. These things affected my business. It doesn't mean I'm down and out. The fact is, we took a hit and we build from it. We learn from our mistakes. But if you're not business orientated, you cannot do that. See, I build safety nets for everything. Prime example of that, I keep an emergency fund. So if things go sour, I can hop on a plane and get straight back into what I do best. For example, I'm in the UK now because I have a skill set that got me work within 2 weeks. But at the same time, I'm still making money in the Philippines, which is paying all my bills and everything there. So it's not a case that we're broken out. It's basically that we've reached a point where I'm not happy with the way things are in the Philippines for the kids' future. So we're taking a change of direction. The business will still continue to develop because I have some very core people there that I do trust. Now, it's took me over a year to find people like that. Um, I put things out there to actually test people to see if they steal from me, and sometimes they've done it. I mean, I had a guy actually steal a very small amount of money. It'd be about like $60. Yet he was owed 3 days' salary, and he just disappeared. He was having free accommodation and pretty much a good way of life, but decided to disappear with the money instead. Um, these things happen. It doesn't mean these things don't make sense, for many people, because a lot of people say, everybody, people are desperate for work. Not always. A lot of people are desperate for an easy life. Now, I would also say in my call center, I've also got some very, very good people. Single mothers, people that know that that job they got, they couldn't get a job elsewhere. And it was a case of we developed their skills over time, so they're very thankful for the opportunity. But you will still get the village idiot, you'll still get the thief, somebody maybe a drug addict that you're unaware of. Those sort of things are normal. But it's not just the Philippines, but it's much harder in the Philippines because you're a foreigner. Because you may find that upsetting them, just by saying, I don't need smackheads in my company, you may end up with a huge problem where they try to make your life as difficult as possible. I've never had that scenario, but I know how frustrated some expats get, and I understand it. But these are things you really need to take on board when looking at business in the Philippines. I'm not talking out my backside about this. I've done it. I've been out there nearly 7 years. I've had several businesses. I have never needed to rely on external income. I've used external income to get bigger, like building an office and things like that. But we have managed to live there from day one from income we generated in country. So I would say you really need to understand this stuff before you look at moving to the Philippines. Because I tell you now, you're going to find things where you are now which are much easier to do. Most people don't even know what's on their doorstep. I mean, for example, the UK, because of the recycling, I say recycling nonsense because it is. Everyone's telling you to recycle, yet the supermarkets put everything in pre-packed, and then you've got the same problem with mass-produced Chinese junk, where like washing machines, the life cycle's been reduced, laptops life cycle's reduced, TVs life cycle's reduced. They're producing junk, so the consumerism's gone up, yet the production of waste has increased drastically. There's a market for getting rid of the crap. Empty houses, skip disposal, house clearances, renovations, finding all the jobs that nobody else wants to do. I learned a long time ago that the money in life is where all the jobs that nobody wants to do, be it unblocking toilets or putting up fence panels in the snow, that is where the good money is because nobody wants to do it. You can charge what you like. I trained as a locksmith. I was earning £120 per call out. Most call outs last about once I'm on site, less than 5 minutes. £120 for 5 minutes work. A lot of the work was within 20 minutes of the house. So every, £240 an hour roughly, if you had a consistent amount of work. Reality was, I did it on a night. I could get up to 7 calls a night. Do the maths yourself. Because I also had a day job. So I'll get out 2 in the morning, go and let somebody in the house, £120, go back to bed. So I'll tell you now, you've got a lot more opportunity on your doorstep now, but also you'll get paid a lot more than you will in a third world country. Okay, thanks for listening. Love to have some more feedback. Thank you.